Okay, I want to make a point on like this mural. There's like a cube space. You see that's kind of representative of light spectrum and dark cube space. Pretty basic idea, right? So here's the deal. I was in a spirit world, in the cube space spirit world, traveling through, recognizing it's a give and take world. We're in a cube space. There's a lot of synthesis going on, and I have a lot to say about it. But here at this place, you see there's a lot of wiring, there's a lot of coiled wires, and this for, you see there's information cables, there's cameras. I don't know what they're using that for, cable, cameras, LED lights, but a lot of LED lights and cameras are being installed all at the same time. And obviously some, enterprise is behind it, right? So all at the same time. I just noticed that this is going on. This was literally going on. And these were all here, see how that's kind of an abundance of coiled wire, but many places we have the coiled wires in an abundance because it was a rollout of cameras, lights in action for real. So this here was very pointedly strange. This fence wasn't here. There's a fence, you can see it's new. It's a new fence, but it's not entirely new because there's some wood growth in here. We got some the vines that grew. These they grow pretty quick, so it's not a thing like that. But it looked like more than 3 years growth, and I don't remember exactly how many. It could have been more than 3 years ago. I can't recall, but any sense, this fence wasn't complete like this. It was only about 1.5 feet out of the ground, and it was not normal looking. It was like, dude, this fence is like growing out of the ground, just not built this way. And there was like a little brick curb cubby that was also not normal because it wasn't not built like that. It was like growing. So you're looking at that. That's a data structure that's in a cube space, and it's being a little altered. It's an altered, para state. And 6 months later, I had come up to a guy and said, look, I described what I saw over here. I hadn't been here in 6 months. It was just that one time that I had came in there. And you can say, oh, your memory was off. Well, that's not the case, I'm telling you. So the guy I spoke with, I described to him what I was talking about, and I pointed it out to him, and he looked at it, he said, yeah, man, this doesn't look normal. It's strange. It's not, it's perplexing. He couldn't explain it either. I said, explain how this is the way it is. We had some pipe with wire coming out of it. It was also coming out of the ground. It wasn't built that way. It was growing, and that was still there. I pointed it all out to him, and he was trying to figure it out. He couldn't. He looked at it. He said, I couldn't figure this out, and I had asked him about that again recently. I go, do you remember that? I asked you what was the deal with that, and you couldn't recall what it was. And he says, yeah, I do recall that, but I'm not exactly sure what it was that was anomalous about the situation. But I'll tell you, over here, you can see this is like in a whole other space. It's kind of similar, but it's not the same. Okay? And over here, see another space where this is the kind of, this is bricks, this is cinder blocks. The other thing wasn't cinder blocks, it was actually bricks. And it was like this. It was something like this, but bricks, and the fence was like this. This is a new fence too. You see this fence is new, it's recently installed. But the fence was only about 1.5 feet high. And the bricks were bent, they were warped. They weren't just laid flat, and it wasn't formed bricks. They were actual bricks that were just melted and shaped as if it was warped. But they weren't like a clay that was made into a brick look to it. No, they were actual bricks, and some of them were normal, but some of them were bent. And the pipe that was coming out of the ground too had new wire conduits coming in. It's who the hell put this old pipe with new wires coming out of it? No, that's not normal. And so there was a lot of other things that had happened in that journey, in that instance. and I would like to relate it later. But this is, I just wanted to put that together. I know it's a little strange sounding, but so I'm thinking that it was kind of like an in-between state of these different generic places. Everything's generic, everything's data, and it's a different generic place that's causing that. And I have another example where there's like I have it on tape because there's like a trail in the woods, and it crosses over this other track, and it's supposed to be right in front, pretty much directly across, but it was displaced by like 30 feet. And so there was like 30 feet, you know, there actually was like a missing section, and then things weren't aligned properly. And you say, no, that's you're just mistaken about it. No, the world's synthetic. And this is how you have like gateways and dimensional portals, because it is a synthesized. Well, people don't understand like what stasis is, like a crystal with ionization going on. If you have a crystal being formed and ions, you know, expelling in a toroidal, you know, circuit, that crystalline structure is static. And time and space is unified under the aether. That's what Tesla was talking about when he's talking about the aether being like a veil of probabilities, possibilities, and the unknown. It's a, you know, there's any which way, number of ways that little piece of paper cup found its way to where it is now. That's the aether. It's any of those possible things. It's unknowable, but maybe you know, could know something about it. But this is what the abstract science that Tesla was talking about. He's saying fundamentally it's unknowable. We're living under the aether. Time and space is unified beyond the aether, and this is a mysterious. He had a belief in that mysterious veil because he understood there was interactions that were, you know, you call this spooky interactions. Look at that, that's good. The spooky interactions, but quantum science is a non-science. We really, you know, realize that 2002, Lee Smolin writes his book, and he pretty much lays it out. He goes, yo, but he doesn't recognize his expression, but he's saying that quantum science is just grift. It's just, you know, grant writers getting money to explore non-science, and that's what the science is. It's the exploration of non-science. And you got to realize that the ignorance of what the aether actually represents. The aether represents the barrier of the unknown. That all of our measurable, you know, instances is an estimation of what things are. It's not a concrete thing, but like the science, Einstein's science is completely bogus. It's quantifying the self as the divine. That's how Einstein's position is. It's you know, just like a family tradition. It's a matter of fact to that kind of worldview. It's just a family tradition to deify the self over the truth. And that's the position that Einstein's quantum non-science comes from. But realizing that light and magnetism is very much on the same parallel as sound and a medium of transference, like water or air. You know, sound ripples through a medium, and aether is not necessarily that medium, because it's actually the barrier beyond that medium, the unknowable beyond that medium. The medium is magnetic polarities interacting. This is what, under the aether, we have magnetic polarities interacting. And think of like a crystal, static crystal with ionization. Now this crystal does not change its structure, it's static. That's a unified time and space. But even like the dark crystal is a good, this was like understood science. This was an understood science, and the occult understood this. So you see, the non-science of Einstein was understood by the occult as being a non-science. It's the art of hoodwinking, the art of lying and the art of graft. That's the unified science of the Antichrist. So if you look at like medicine, you look at jurisprudence, the legal system, crime and punishment, the prison system, you look at these things, and it's really under the science of grift and the unification of mind and heart. This is how, if you look at the religion, the ecclesiastics, they aberrate the written word, and they say the mind is the unholy thing, the rationality is unholy. You see, in a modern science, even rationality is considered illness. To rationalize is to be ill. To act is to be healthy. And to have this is the slanderous hypocrites. You see that this is the monolith of Antichrist, but it is even the Antichrist church has been, disqualifying logic, truth, and science and humanity for thousands of years. And it's now, you see it by different names, but it's the same monolithic Antichrist. So it's the New Age Antichrist positioning. Again, like I said, the occultists understood the non-science of Einstein. And you can see it, the dark crystal is a good inside Hollywood occult mentality. These people, you can't really buy or sell unless you're Hunter Biden's art. Only Hunter Biden's art can buy or sell. That's the church. So you see how strongly is that? That's our whole media. That's our entire commercial system. That's the entire political system. That's the entire ecclesiastic system. That's the entire academic system. That's the entire science system. So there's no difference between Hunter Biden's art and the quantum scientist. Okay, where they're saying, oh my God, this little particle of antimatter, that's 2,700 trillion dollars right there. Yes, that's that little gram of our quantum, science. It's worth 2,700 trillion dollars. See, that's the same thing as Hunter Biden's artwork. And their Antichrist mentality is their science, it's their medicine, it's their religion, it's their social culture too. You look at the Pavlovian culture. It's Newsweek did the article, years ago. They said the pop culture is becoming diminutive. It's becoming simpler, not more intelligent. It's becoming simpler, but simpler is more intelligent to these people. There's not things. There's one thing. It's the monolith, and it's the nullification of truth. And you see, that's the science and art is united in that nullification, and that's reflective of what you see. The actual world, the occultists want to veil over that. They don't want people to understand the system that is behind the veil, beyond the ether. We see we're in a manipulated structure.